So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. And yes, every time I watch Jurassic Park, I feel like I'm an archaeologist, and I want to do some digging and find some dinosaurs. So I go searching for videos of well, I can't never say that word. Archaeologists making discoveries. I go searching for those type of videos, and here I have one. So we're gonna get into it.
Archaeologists have discovered a huge ancient city hidden underground in Mexico, which may give a better understanding of the Maya civilization.
The idea of uncovering an ancient tomb sends shivers down my spine, but knowing that a perfectly untouched Mayan tomb has just been opened, that's beyond thrilling.
When I studied carefully the last days of Cleopatra, I realized it was the beginning of a religious act that might ended up with her being buried in a temple, and her lost tomb could be found there.
I'm talking about a discovery.
I often think about that too. Like, should we be leaving these tombs alone? Like, I know I've said it before, but just the scariness of opening and what you could release. And maybe they want to rest in peace. You know, the whole rest in peace thing? You know, just a thought.
So rare and mysterious that even experts struggle to make sense of it. Hidden artifacts, cryptic symbols, and secrets buried for centuries. This find could rewrite everything we know about the ancient Mayans. Let me take it back a bit to 2022. Archaeologist Francisco Estrada Belli from Tulane University, along with his intrepid team, stumbled upon a jaw-dropping discovery just 6 feet away from where looters had called it quits. Nestled in Xochitlam, Guatemala, they unearthed an untouched tomb that wasn't just any old resting place. It belonged to a high-ranking Maya priest or king named Wati, and dated back a whopping 1,700 years to around 350 CE. Now, if you think finding an ancient tomb is cool, consider this. Inside were treasures that would make any history buff's heart skip a beat. We're talking about a mosaic jade mask that shimmers with the wisdom of ages, over 16 spondylus shells. Those are spiny oyster shells that were the ancient Maya's equivalent of designer labels.
See, that's what it is. It's the thrill of the find, the catch. You know? You ever sit in your house and think, or maybe it's just me, I'm crazy, but I'll like look in my backyard and I'll be like, man, I wonder if something's buried in my backyard underground of some significant value. Something. I do, man. I'll just look back there and I'll just stare out there. I know if the missus walk past me, I know she think I'm crazy, but I will. I just be like, man, I wonder what's underground. And should I just one day just get out there and start digging?
And even human femur bones, carved with the kind of artistry that makes you wonder about the hands that crafted them. One of these bones even had the profile of, presumably, King Wati himself, clutching a jade mask similar to the one found alongside him. And, as if the finds themselves weren't enough to write home about, the hieroglyphs etched on these artifacts were like a gossip column from the past. They dished out details on Wati's lineage, connecting him to the big-shot Maya cities of Tikal and Teotihuacan. According to Estrada Belli, snagging this tomb was a bit like winning the lottery in terms of information. And honestly, who could disagree? It's like peeking through a keyhole into an era that's mostly a mystery, giving us the juicy details on Maya religious practices and royal successions during the early classic period. This tomb raid, the good kind, wasn't just luck. It was made possible by some pretty slick tech called LIDAR, which lets you spot hidden goodies under the jungle canopy. This is the same tech that revealed the looters' old tunnels, leading the team right to Wati's untouched time capsule. The artifacts found are now under careful study, promising to spill even more ancient secrets.
Now, the beauty of things to come is going to be the technology that is built in the future, maybe near future, maybe distant future, I don't know. But the technology that's gonna come and be able to put the puzzle pieces together a lot faster, a lot more clearer than we've been able to do thus far. Not taking credit of how far we've come, because we've come very far, but imagine what technology is gonna do and be able to show us, like you said, peeking through the keyhole of the past. Imagine what you're gonna be able to see or realize or understand about the past that is gonna put that puzzle together for us, man. That's some of the things that keep people up at night. Like, it's gonna get crazy here soon.
Switching continents and centuries, let's zip back to 1939, when French archaeologist Pierre Montet was poking around Tanis, an ancient city in Egypt's Nile Delta. On a cool February day, the 27th to be precise, Montet and his team stumbled upon a stone-blocked underground chamber. What they found inside was nothing short of a time capsule. Decorated limestone rooms filled with the stone sarcophagi of ancient Egyptian bigwigs. It was a jackpot moment, but this was just the beginning. As they moved on to mid-March, the team hit the archaeological jackpot again. They uncovered another tomb, this one untouched and sealed up like a vintage wine bottle. Inside was Pharaoh Susenes I, who ruled over Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. Unlike the tombs you hear about in all those mummy movies, thieves hadn't touched this one. The treasures inside were pristine and dazzling. Now, here's where it gets even shinier. The highlight was a coffin made entirely of solid silver. Imagine that. Silver was a bigger deal in ancient Egypt than gold, since it had to be imported. That's how Susenes I got his flashy nickname, the Silver Pharaoh. But that's not all. When they lifted the lid of this luxurious coffin, there lay a gold mask adorned with lapis lazuli and glass inlays, staring back at them with all the serenity of the ages. The tomb was also a treasure trove of jewelry. Necklaces, bracelets, rings all crafted in gold and silver, along with amulets and small statues that showcased the exquisite craftsmanship of the time. These finds didn't just sparkle, they provided a deep dive into ancient Egypt's rich culture and wealth. This discovery remains one of the grand slams in the world of archaeology, shedding light on a period of Egyptian history that was as dusty and obscure as the chambers they unearthed. And guess what? If you ever find yourself in Cairo, swing by the Egyptian Museum. You'll get to see these treasures in person. And yes, they're guaranteed to knock your socks off. But wait, there's more. In December 2018, just when you thought Egypt had given up all its secrets, along comes a team led by the intrepid Mustafa Waziri. They were at the Saqqara necropolis, just a hop, skip, and a jump south of Cairo when they stumbled upon something that'd make any history buff's heart skip a beat. A completely untouched tomb dating back a whopping 4,400 years to the 5th dynasty. Yep, that's the era of the pharaoh Nefertari. The man of the hour, or, let's be honest, millennia, was a high-ranking priest named Wati. This guy wasn't just any old priest. He was a big deal back in the day, and his tomb is like a time capsule from ancient Egypt. Stretching about 33 feet long and 10 feet wide, it's decked out with vibrant paintings and intricate sculptures that have stood the test of time without losing a hint of their swagger. The art inside? Absolutely stunning. It shows Wati hanging out with his family, his mum, Merit Meen, his wife, Wuret, and his 4 kids, 3 bustling boys and 1 darling daughter. These wall paintings are more than just decor. They're a peek into the daily life of a man who was both a family guy and a societal heavyweight. Now, here's where it gets even more Indiana Jones. Inside the tomb, the archaeologists found 5 shafts. One of these was wide open and sadly empty, but the other 4 sealed tight as a drum, untouched since the days when pharaohs ruled the roost. The team was buzzing with excitement, hoping these hidden shafts might hold Waty's sarcophagus or some other juicy artifacts. And the scenes painted across the tomb's walls, they're like a comic strip of ancient Egyptian life. You've got musical concerts, boat sailing expeditions, craftsmen making furniture, and even potters spinning their wheels. It's a full-on visual guide to what mattered in Waty's world, showcasing everything from his professional duties to the cultural vibes of the time. The big reveal of Waty's tomb wasn't just another day at the office for these archaeologists. It was hailed as one of the most significant finds in recent memory. Why? Because this pristine tomb was a goldmine of information, giving scholars a rare, unfiltered look at ancient Egypt's art, culture, and society during a fascinating period. Jump to 1922, and we hit another jackpot in...
And see, that's something I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on us to crack a code. Crack a code of something that shows how advanced they were back then. Oh my God, I live for that moment to happen, because everybody just automatically assumes they were slow. They didn't have like they were dumb, for lack of a better word, is the way that people look at them. As like, they look at every person from the past or every civilization from the past as pretty much like dumb cavemen. Ooh, nothing. Like, no, they were very, very advanced, and I can't wait to crack those codes till they crack those codes and prove it to them.
In Egypt's Valley of the Kings, British archaeologist Howard Carter, backed by the passionate and deep-pocketed Lord Carnarvon, unearthed the nearly intact tomb of the boy Pharaoh Tutankhamun, who had ruled Egypt over 3,300 years earlier. And let me tell you, this was no small discovery. It was like finding the hidden level in a video game that's packed with bonus points. Howard Carter had been digging around Egyptian soil since the late 19th century, but his big break came when he teamed up with Lord Carnarvon, a British nobleman who was as obsessed with Egyptian antiques as a cat with a laser pointer. Lord Carnarvon didn't just offer moral support, he bankrolled Carter's digs. This dynamic duo got the green light to start excavating in the Valley of the Kings in 1914. Despite years of finding pretty much zilch, Carter was convinced that Tutankhamun's resting place was just waiting to be uncovered. Fast forward to November 4th, 1922. Carter's team was clearing out some debris by another tomb's entrance when they stumbled upon a step carved into the ground. Like kids on a treasure hunt, they dug around and unearthed a staircase leading to a sealed doorway complete with royal seals. Carter was over the moon. He zipped off a telegram to Lord Carnarvon, probably the 1920s equivalent of OMG, come quick, found something huge. Lord Carnarvon, along with his daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert, landed in Egypt by November 23rd, 1922. They probably didn't even have time to unpack before rushing over to the site. On November 26th, Carter drilled a small peek hole in the sealed doorway and took a look-see by candlelight. When Carnarvon asked if he could see anything, Carter's reply was understated yet iconic. Yes, wonderful things. And wonderful they were. Stepping inside, they found an antechamber that looked like a showroom of ancient Egyptian IKEA, but way better. We're talking gilded couches, ornate chests, and statues that didn't come with a DIY assembly manual.
Ancient IKEA? Yo, I thought I heard that But you know how you hear something, you're like, he didn't say that. Yes, he actually said that. You know what I mean? To imagine them again, I do the same thing sometimes. Them having furniture, sitting down on couches or different things like that. Wow. I have to remind myself of that sometimes. It's like, no, they actually they were very, very rich, a rich civilization. Wow.
Despite some ancient looters having a go at it, the treasures were largely untouched. Another sealed door hinted at even more goodies, and sure enough, it led to the burial chamber guarded by life-size statues. On February 16th, 1923, Carter cracked open the burial chamber in front of officials and some seriously lucky dignitaries. Inside, not one, not two, but 3 nested coffins, with the innermost one made of solid gold, housing the mummy of King Tut himself, complete with a snazzy golden mask. Over 5,000 artifacts were found alongside him, from snazzy jewelry to chariots. It was a peek into ancient Egyptian culture, turning the world.
So where's all that jewelry now? That's the question. Because you know how stuff likes to go missing from these tombs and different things like that. That's why a lot of times when they find things, they say a prayer first or be praying that everything hasn't been, you know what I mean, scavenged through, stolen and stuff like that. So where is all of that stuff that they pulled out of this tomb located now? It should be in a museum somewhere. I hope.
Into a bunch of Egyptology nerds overnight and leaving a mark on arts and culture worldwide. Now let's jet over to Peru in 1987. No time machines needed, just a flair for dramatic discoveries. Dr. Walter Alva and his squad, Susana Meneses de Alva and Luis Chero Zurita, hit archaeological gold with the tomb of the Lord of Sipan. This was no small find. It's often tossed around in the same breath as Tut's discovery due to the sheer scale and richness. The story kicks off in a less glamorous fashion, with local authorities cluing in Dr. Alva about some tomb raiders. These real-life treasure hunters had stumbled upon a tomb near the town of Sipan at a site called Huaca Rajada. These looters, unfortunately, had already pocketed some artifacts that were centuries old, sparking disputes and signaling to Dr. Alva that something big was under those layers of dirt. By July 20th, 1987, the team, with bated breath, uncovered the intact tomb of the Lord of Sipan. They found the remains of a man, about 5 feet 4 inches tall, who was probably in his prime, aged somewhere between 35 and 45 years old.
Wonder what was the average height back then? Just based off of hearing, 5 foot, is what they found this current person they're looking at, they're talking about. But what was the average height back then? They probably would look at us as like giants, maybe. You see a 7-footer. If a 7-footer goes back in time around those times, he'd probably be considered a giant back then. A Shaq, a Yao Ming, somebody like that. I don't know. Just thoughts.
When he bid adieu to the living world. His resting place was nothing short of regal, adorned with gold and silver jewelry, detailed ceramics, and ceremonial items that would make any antique collector weak at the knees. But the Lord of Sipan wasn't resting alone. His tomb was a full house with 3 young women, 2 likely warrior types, and a child, all positioned as if they were meant to serve him beyond the mortal coil. There was even a 3rd male, just chilling in a niche, overlooking the main burial chamber, so why not? As if that wasn't enough, the plot thickens over the next couple of years. In 1988, a 2nd tomb popped up. This one was believed to belong to a Moshe priest, decked out with a metal crown, sporting an owl design and a ceremonial cup. Fast forward to 1989, a 3rd tomb surfaced, this one housing the old Lord of Sipan, possibly a maternal relative of our first VIP. From then until 2007, the site kept giving as 14 tombs were eventually mapped out, each spilling more secrets about the Moche society and their burial customs. To keep these treasures safe and sound, the Royal Tombs of Sipan Museum was established in Lambayeki, swinging open its doors in 2002 with Dr. Alva at the helm as director. Meanwhile, across the world in China, another jaw-dropping discovery flipping the script to another epic quest. In 2005, Dominican archaeologist Kathleen Martinez decided to shake up the world a bit by hunting down the long-lost tomb of none other than Cleopatra VII, the celebrity ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt. Why Cleopatra? Well, Martinez wasn't just captivated by her story during her studies. She believed that all previous expeditions had missed some crucial clues. Her big idea, that Cleopatra, being a fan of the goddess Isis, would have picked a final resting place with that connection. Enter the temple of Taposiris Magna, about 25 miles west of Alexandria, smack dab in the middle of Isis worship land. With the theory hot enough to stir some serious interest, Martinez managed to get the green light from Egyptian authorities to start digging at Taposiris Magna. What followed could only be described as a treasure trove of discoveries, but not the jackpot yet. The team unearthed coins stamped with Cleopatra's face, statues that would make any museum giddy, and a whole network of endless tunnels and tombs. And just when you think it couldn't get more intriguing, in 2022, they hit what was described as a geometric miracle, a tunnel stretching over 1,300 meters and buried 13 meters underground. As the digs continued, they didn't just stumble upon some old pottery. No, they found 16 burial chambers, loads of mummies patiently waiting for their stories to be told, and artifacts that screamed high society, like statues of Isis and a bust likely representing someone royal from the Ptolemaic times. These bits and bobs weren't just random finds. They pointed to Taposiris Magna being a hotspot back in Cleopatra's day.
I wonder will we be dug up like that? Like centuries from now, will they want to know so much about us? Maybe how we destroyed the planet, you know what I mean? Maybe what we were doing, you know, all this stuff, JFK files, all this. Will they dig us up to find out information? Y'all ever thought about that? Or is it just the weird guy here? Me. I wonder will we be dug up though?
Now, you might think finding all that stuff would lead to a big dramatic reveal where Cleopatra and her lover, Mark Antony, are found holding hands in the afterlife. But nope, the actual tomb of the power couple is still playing hard to get. Yet, Martinez is not the type to back down. She's quoted as saying, "If there's a 1% chance that the last queen of Egypt could be buried there, it is my duty to search for her." So, the hunt continues. Over in China, the stakes were just as high, but it all started quite innocently. A group of local farmers near Xi'an was only looking to quench their thirst and their crops during a drought in 1974, when they stumbled upon fragments of clay. Little did they know, they were about to dig up a slice of history that would dazzle the world. They didn't just find a few archaeological bits and pieces either. They had stumbled across part of the legendary Terracotta Army. Sensing they had found something special, they quickly reported their find to the local authorities, which brought Chinese archaeologist Zhao Kangmin to the scene. Zhao was the first to put the puzzle pieces together, identifying and reconstructing the fragments into life-size statues. Thanks to his sharp eye and quick thinking, what could have been overlooked as just more dirt in the dirt became a major discovery. With Zhao's discoveries, the archaeologists who followed were able to unearth an entire army crafted for the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. We're not talking about a small squad either. This site, now known as the Terracotta Army, is a vast collection of sculptures that were...
See, look at them. You know what this reminds me of? And y'all gonna think I'm like super, like this is how my brain... Squid Games. It looks, now y'all ain't gonna be able to unsee it. It looks like, you know, when they're going up through the stairways and everything like that, and they show that view of them all over and going up just everywhere. Don't that listen, maybe the Terracotta Army might have been getting ready to participate in some Squid Games or something like that. I don't know. It's just a thought. Just a thought. My bad.
were meant to accompany the emperor into the afterlife. Talk about going out in style. Dive a bit deeper into this site, and you will find that it includes several pits, with Pit 1 being the heavyweight champion. It's roughly 230 meters long and 62 meters wide, and houses over 6,000 figures, each positioned in battle formation as if ready to fight at a moment's notice. And it doesn't stop there. There are horses, chariots, and even different types of soldiers, each with a face that's unique, showcasing an extraordinary level of detail and craftsmanship that makes you appreciate just how skilled these ancient artists were. Fast forward to today, and this site isn't just a dusty old pit. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, drawing crowds for both its historical significance and its archaeological allure. Jumping over to a chillier part of the world in 2018, Gino Caspari from the University of Bern must have felt like he struck gold, or rather ice, when he made his own mind-blowing discovery in Siberia's Tuva Republic. Thanks to some high-tech satellite imagery, Caspari spotted something unusual in the Uyuk River Valley, a mysterious circular shape lurking under the surface at the Tonugwan site, also snappily known as the Arjan Zero Kurgan. This region is famous for its Scythian burial mounds, which date back to the early 1st millennium BCE. Funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation, SNSF, Caspari teamed up with the Russian Academy of Sciences and decided to take a closer look. It wasn't going to be easy, though. The site was not only remote, but swampy, making access and excavation a real challenge. But here's the kicker. The permafrost conditions in the area hinted that organic materials could be exceptionally well preserved. It was an archaeologist's dream. Upon starting the dig, Caspari's team uncovered a massive burial mound, about 140 meters in diameter, making it one of the largest Scythian kurgans ever discovered. Now, we're not just talking about a few old bones and pots. They found well-preserved wooden structures and artifacts that screamed Scythian culture. Arrowheads, bronze objects, you name it. Radiocarbon dating put the site at around 800 BCE, possibly making it the earliest known Scythian princely tomb in the region. The real treasure, though, was that unlike many Scythian tombs which looters had picked over throughout the centuries, Tonugwan appeared untouched. Caspari hit the jackpot, an untouched snapshot of ancient history, offering a rare glimpse into the early days of Scythian culture. Switching scenes to Bulgaria in August 2004, where things got equally exciting, but with a Thracian twist. In the so-called Valley of the Thracian Kings, Georgi Kitov and his crew set their sights on a large mound known as Golyamata Kosmatka. Talk about striking gold. They literally did. On one of their digs, they unearthed a solid gold mask weighing about 673 grams. Not something you find just lying around every day, right? Riding high on their golden find, the team pushed forward, and by September 21st, 2004, they hit another jackpot, a large bronze head thought to depict a Thracian ruler. But wait, the plot thickens. 3 days later, they brushed the dirt away to reveal a tomb entrance. With looters likely rubbing their hands with glee, Kitov decided it was time to bring out the big shots, or rather, the big machines, a move that stirred up a bit of a storm among his peers. Fast forward to October 4th, 2004, there they were, standing before a marble door that would lead them to the main chamber. Inside, a treasure trove awaited, a golden wreath, a wine cup fit for a king, and all the regalia, including greaves and a snazzy helmet. And let's not overlook the bronze head of a statue with eyes made of alabaster and glass paste. Talk about eyelash goals. But this story wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about the tomb of the Wari Queen in Peru. Back in 2013, a dusty ridge in Peru, previously used as a looter's dumping ground, turned out to be a gold mine for history buffs. This wasn't just any old dig site, it was El Castillo de Huarmey, about 300 kilometers north of Lima, where archaeologists stumbled upon a jaw-dropping find. The plot thickened, with Polish archaeologist Miloš Giersz from the University of Warsaw teaming up with Peruvian expert Roberto Pimentel-Nita. Fueled by funds from Poland's National Science Center and a little help from the National Geographic Society, this dynamic duo was set to rewrite a chunk of ancient history.
Now, this makes me think, man, I hope they're not cutting the funding. As soon as he said fueled by the funding of this, it made me think of all the cuts that are taking place right now in our country. And it could be cutting people traveling to uncover ancient and archaeological, discoveries, finds, different things like that, man, that is important to our history. We got to make sure this stuff keeps going, bro. My bad. It was just a thought that came up as soon as he said it was funded.
Back to 2010, when the seeds of this historic discovery were planted. Giersz and his crew took to the skies with aerial photography and dove deep with geophysical imaging at El Castillo de Huarmey. The images hinted at hidden structures under a ridge, a spot looters had trashed for ages, thinking they'd picked it clean. But oh, were they wrong? By September 2012, the team was dusting off a stone throne room that was just the appetizer. Beneath it, a chamber sealed with tons of loose stones whispered secrets of the untouched since, well, forever.